A warm welcome. Thank you, everyone who's joining us, and thank you to those who are joining us live on YouTube. Of course, this does go out to our 10,000 member community, and we share it, of course, on all the podcast platforms. So, a warm welcome. Thank you. And just about ready to get started. We have a brief little class to go through, a couple of slides of things to talk about, and then we're going to get going with today's guest. So again, thank you for joining us. And I don't know if Rob is on here, but I'm going to remember to actually record this. Let's get this recorded. All right. Warm welcome. And thank you for joining for the Energy and Frequency podcast. This is Dr. Ariel Policano, and I'm so excited to be with you today. And we have a great guest for our podcast. Oh gosh, hopefully these slides will load. Give me one more chance and let's see if we can do it from here. Okay. All right. So on the Energy and Frequency podcast, we interview guests from the sound healing, energy healing, yoga, meditation, vibration, all of that kind of good stuff. And we're doing that today. So we're here, we stream live from my YouTube channel at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern every Thursday. And we interview people in energy medicine, energy healing, sound healing, all those wonderful, wonderful things that we all love so much in our genius community, and talk about very wonderful things that we love to sort of steep ourselves into. And remember that the genius itself is a quantum biofeedback tool that you can take with you anywhere. It's a mobile tool. It helps you to learn more about yourself and the world around you. And it does that through a wonderful voice engine that analyzes your voice and turns it into a wonderful frequency that can be compared with other frequencies. And if that sounds super compelling to you, then you can go to geniusbiofeedback.com to learn more. Now, in the spirit, especially of the guest who's going to be joining us today, I wanted to just mention a few things that are related to energy healing. Those of you who come to our classes regularly know that I'm giving an energy medicine course starting on May 19th. And I've been giving you little snippets along the way about the meridians, the chakras, and other topics. So I wanted to ask you today, when you think about it, being in the world of the genius and the world of energy healing, is what we see all that there is? And is it only what's important? What about the things that we can't see, that we can't smell, that we can't touch? Are those things important? And I wanted to suggest to you that as somebody who's a vibrational healer, energy healer, that is our main focus, is actually the things that cannot be seen at this time. They can be felt, they can be intuited. We know that they're part of the human existence. It's the spirit, the prana, the vital force. And actually, vibrational healers spend a lot of time working in with that energy, with that subtle human energy. And there are many different forms of this type of subtle energy. There are the meridians, and then there are the meridian points, there are the chakras, there are the Ayurvedic marmas. And the one I wanted to talk about today, talking about this subtle energy, is actually the nadis. And so you may have never heard of the nadis before. They're subtle channels that are talked about in the yogic texts. And our vital force, who we are, our spirit, our prana, what's living in this body and giving it light, and they call it Shen as well, is flowing through these subtle channels. And it may be something you've never heard of before. So they're in the same sort of vein as the meridians, which are energy channels, and the chakras, which are energy channels. And they say that the prana flows through the nadis like blood flows through the circulatory system. So I thought it was interesting to consider the nadis. And in the yogic text, it tells us that there are over 72,000 nadis flowing through the human body. And I think I've mentioned in the affirmational class, if you came to those introductory classes, that my meditation teacher said to me once, the greatest mystery of God is a human being. And it really is something to think about and something to consider. 72,000 nadis. And sorry about the slide is getting cut off here. So I'm just going to mention one of them, which is called the Sushumna nadi. And it's one of the most important nadis. It's the central or core channel in the human body for this type of pranic force or energy. And you can see it here. There are two other nadis that we're not going to mention today, which is the Pingala and the Ida. And if it kind of looks like yin and yang, they are yin and yang energies, the Pingala and the Ida. And the Sushumna Nadi, you may have heard of it before. It's a coiled serpent energy. And it is believed that this coiled serpent energy, the sacred energy, lies dormant at the base of the spine until there's a spiritual awakening. And when the spiritual aspirant is ready, the teacher comes along, or you have some type of a spiritual experience in meditation, and then the Kundalini energy is awakened, and this divine and very powerful energy flows up the spine to the Sushumna Nadi. And really all of yoga, if you think about yoga, it's really focused on the spine and the energy of the spine, which has physical benefits, but the original purpose for the yogis was meant to be a spiritual experience. So it is said that when this wonderful, beloved, amazing, sacred channel is flowing, that the energy within us is balanced and active. So it could have like really positive health effects too, right? We find ourselves in true harmony and we become fully awakened to the divine. So I just wanted to share with you another concept in thinking about all the different energies that a human being is, and that which cannot be seen or touched is very active and very important. Well, from there, I want to now segue into a related topic, which I'm sure my guest probably knows a lot about the topic we've been talking about. And I want to welcome our guest in just a moment. I'm going to bring her up here. So first, let me just tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Rukmani. I'm sorry, it's Rukmani with an I on the end, Rukmani Kaur. And she's a highly intuitive, a divine channel, and an alchemist. And she guides people through the awakening process and helps them to understand the language of their own being. So it is Rukmani. I did put Rukman there, but I want to make sure I know everybody knows Rukmani. We're going to give her contact information in just a moment. And I'm going to bring her up here, and you can open up your camera and sound when you're ready. She helps them to understand the language of their own being, reconnects with their gifts, people's gifts to live a happy life. She uses energy work, Kundalini yoga, meditation, sound healing. So Rukmani, I spelled it right there. Rukmani, welcome to the Energy and Frequency podcast. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so good. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
And I'm honored to have you. Tell us a little bit about who you are as a healer and what your journey has been.
Wow, that's a big thing. Well, I went through a really massive Kundalini awakening in 2016. I was so
Wow.
ready, yeah, which is it so goes with everything that you were saying, because I was like, that's my life. And I was already working with energy. I was already a Reiki master. And from there, I was already teaching yoga, meditation, and all these things. It was through my first Kundalini yoga teacher training that the energy rose up, just like you were talking about, in the Sushumna Nadi, and it changed everything. It changed everything, and it was very trippy, to be honest. It was so trippy to like feel everything and see so many things, and I felt like the veil totally dropped, and I was in the two worlds at the same time, yet I wasn't really sure what was going on, because I didn't have any guidance. And so I had my teacher, my Kundalini teacher, that was guiding us through the teacher training, and I went to him, and he just gave me this look like, what are you doing differently? I was like, I'm just doing the practices, but I have so much devotion for Kundalini yoga since the very first moment I started practicing. It's like my soul recognizes it. So whenever I practice it, I'm just like, I'm in another space. It's like my heart just explodes, and there's my puppy coming in.
That's okay. It's part of your practice too, and part of your family. We welcome that, your baby. So tell us a little bit, for those who don't know, go back to the very basics and tell us about the practice of Kundalini yoga. What are some of the things that you do, and what is it based on?
Yeah, so it's really based on awakening your Kundalini energy. And it's like a technology. What I really love about Kundalini yoga, I'm such a nerd about this.
Yes,
it works. It works with all, and that's why it's so complete, because there's a lot of breath work, all different kinds of breath work, really. There's breath work for depression, for anxiety, for youthfulness, to center. And there's also mantras. So you're chanting the mantras out loud, which is amazing because not only you're doing it outside, but it comes back into it as you're listening to it. Of course, you're working your body, which is your earth element, as you're chanting, of course, that's the air element. Your fire, there's a lot of breath of fire that happens to like really awaken the fire within. And so, I mean, the ether is of course everywhere, but then once you like move all that energy around with the breath work and the mantras, and also with the body with asanas, and then you get into such a beautiful, amazing space of meditation and surrender. It's like so many things open up, and in that space, like magic happens. For me, I see it like it's a divine portal that is already inside of us. But at times, like you were talking about the nadis might be a little clouded, and so, or clogged. And so what happens is that with all that space and moving things around, they open up, and then the divine energy can flow through you, and then you have such a beautiful, deep experience of yourself. It's
It is
so
so
beautiful,
beautiful. It
really.
sounds
Yeah.
amazing. And it really is the combination of the sounds that you're speaking. And are there some mudras or
Mudras,
hand
yes.
movements? Can you tell us
Yes.
a little bit about those?
Yes, for sure. So most of the mantras are in the language of Gurmukhi, which is in this northwest part of India. So it's sacred language. And so those mantras is not, I mean, of course that our language as English or any other languages do have like a really vibrational energy in themselves. But with this ones, it's something that goes beyond time and space. It's something that really kind of like talks from soul to soul. And then of course, the movement of the fingertips, which is really awesome. When somebody is trying to meditate or finding a meditation practice for the very first time and the mind is so activated, the moment that you begin to do this, the mind gets like, "Ooh, I'm touching this, I'm feeling this," and it doesn't go into different things, so it stays really present. And of course, it really
Yes.
connects many nadis too and energetic channels for
That's what I
sure.
was wondering, because even just these movements are coded, or somehow they're magical in that they're making circuits, right? They're connecting circuits in some way. So
Yeah,
that's really, really cool.
yeah.
So the Kundalini, this combination of chanting and movements, it was really meaningful for you, and it was an inception point for a new part of your life, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, it changed everything in the most amazing way. Honestly, it's of course, it has its challenging points in my journey, right? Which it was really deep, because I mean, prior to all of that, I lived a life or like self-sabotaging like crazy, and I went through a
Mm,
massive depression where I was suicidal for almost a year long.
mm,
And then before that, I had a history of over 20 years of bulimia, anorexia,
mm,
and
mhm.
anxiety, so then like there was so much in my system that I had just like pushed to the side and to the back, that as all the energy began to rise and all the energy channels were opening up, I had to like be face to face with my shadows. I had to be face to face with those things that I had pushed aside because I didn't like them, because I was too
Mm,
different. And so that was
mhm.
like the really big challenge, which I surrender completely, because like I said, I didn't have a teacher, I didn't have a guide physically in the physical body. My guides were the energetics, because I was just like, I really was like, okay, show me a presence to know that I'm not crazy. So the presence will be Aditi, a master of Kundalini yoga, of course, the earth, many angels, archangels, and I'll be like, okay, I can relax into this. So because of that relaxation and the trusting, because I never felt that there was something wrong, I felt that something was awakening within me. So just surrender so much to like the energetics that it was like a journey inwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really like they talk about the dark night of the soul, and some of these things, not wanting to be on the planet, and maybe doing the self-sabotaging behaviors, is, I see it more like a yearning, like well, you're looking for something, you're looking for the
Mhm.
experience. It's like you're craving the spiritual experience, the connection to the divine, and looking for some way perhaps to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's so divine, and of course, because it was so challenging for me, then I knew, of course, okay, I can't be the only one that this is happening to. And I found a community in Thailand when I lived there that's what they were doing. They were helping people through their
Oh.
awakening process through a sound healing journey that's called inner dance. This is also one of the things that I do. And it's just it's another Kundalini activation, but it's just beyond like awesome. And so from that space, you know, I was like, okay, well, this is real. You know, there's so many people that are doing this nowadays. So then I was just like, you know what? This is what I'm going to dedicate my life to. Because
That's what I was, because what I heard real specifically was you didn't have a teacher or someone to show you. And was that the motivation for you to move into the work that you're doing today?
yes, because had I had someone guiding me, oh my gosh, things would have been like so much easier. And of course, I don't take away anything from my journey, because I love how everything played out, and there's a reason why I'm here right now,
Right.
and a specific part of my journey because of what I lived. And because of what I lived, like I'm so good at going within my energetic body to understand and guiding somebody through their shadow world too,
Mm.
because I had to go so deep into it. Well, I chose to.
Mhm.
And because of that, I mean, there's so much beauty in it too, you know. And that's the thing, like
Yes.
at times we're like, oh my God, our shadows and all these things, and I'm like, this is where our power is, you
Mhm.
know. The moment
Mhm.
that we stop fighting them and seeing them as something so negative, they just embrace us. And
Mhm.
that happens, and like, oh my gosh, so much magic happens when that moment clicks.
There's that expression, whatever your burden is also your gift. And
Yeah,
that's what that reminds me of, taking your shadow side and really bringing it up, bringing up or
yeah,
transmuting the energy into something that is so powerful and can be beneficial and can be positive.
for sure. Yeah,
But
for
you bring it
sure.
with you rather than trying to negate it or pretend
Hmm.
that it doesn't exist. You meet it head on, which can be probably
Yeah.
pretty frightening
Yeah,
in a lot
yeah,
of
for
ways.
sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's such a humbling experience, you know, like it brought me to my knees many times, and it still does, you know, like literally just collapsing on my knees in front of my altar and just being, I surrender, you know, just show me the way. I stop fighting. I let go of control, because, you know, I'm a human, you know, I like, of
Of
course I had to
course.
like, there's times where I'm just like, oh, there's the mind that wants to control these things. And I'm like, well, the highest power in the universe knows my journey and is guiding me. Who am I to question it? So then
Mm,
let me just surrender to this, and
that's
eventually everything's
beautiful.
going to play out like it's meant to. Yeah.
It's incredible. Tell us about your work now, how you work with people, and maybe even an example of something that was, really transformative in your relationship, your connection with the person you were working with.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's we get to know each other in such a deep level, you know,
Mhm.
because when I work with somebody, I'm just like, everything about you is welcome. And even when I know people, you know, like, I don't care about your past. I don't care what you think about yourself. I see you as a divine being that you are. And so when I'm working with somebody, you know, I give it my all, and we do everything that it shows up, because most of the things are channeled. You know, of course, there's a lot of wise things that I've learned as in, you know, teacher trainings and immersions and all those kinds of things. But every person has their own journey. Every person has their own story. And in that story, there's different codes of awakening. And once we get to tap into the story, especially the part of the that they want to like push it away, or it's too frightening, or it was just too much to bear, you know, when we begin to look at those codes and see them differently, then they open up to their gifts, because
Mm,
behind them, that's where their gifts are. So what I do with somebody in a space, you know, is just to guide them through that space, like holding their hands and walking into their shadows and seeing, like, you know, it's not that scary. It's just like a condition in the mind, or maybe a condition in society, really, that made us believe that, oh my God, just the light is a good thing, you know? But the more that you embrace all of you, the more that you actually tune in into what you are, who you are, and what you came here to do. And so the processes, I mean, they're all completely different, because again, they're channeled. And I work with the light language, with meditation, visualization, you know, yoga, pranayama, and like anything that comes through, really. And I honestly feel that I'm just a channel, I'm just a bridge, because at times I'm really at awe at what comes through. But it's like something else comes through me and they're in this guiding, and I'm also watching them and holding space for them and embracing them. And again, it's such a humbling experience, you know, which it was really tricky at the beginning for sure, because then I was like, who am I? but through that, to see somebody coming back in their power, you know, to see a woman, I've been working a lot with women, to just go from being so afraid of looking at themselves in the mirror, so afraid of the past, and have so much shame and guilt, you know, and just all this sabotaging patterns that they had, to look at themselves and then maybe quit smoking, quit drinking, and loving themselves, and they don't have more that negative self-talk, you know, and like less than 30 days. I'm just like, wow. And it's not like, you know, this work is them, right? I'm just really the one that's like guiding them, the one that things channel through. But without the work of the other person, then it wouldn't really happen. You know, it's surrendering and their love.
Let's talk about, can you think of one in particular? Did you have somebody who was depressed or had panic attacks or had issues with substance abuse or alcohol? Can you think of one story and guide us through what that process, a little bit about what that process was like, and what were some of the channeled things that came to you maybe in that process?
Yeah, so I'll give you two examples. One, it was just through setting up their own Kundalini yoga practice, because that's also what I do based on the numerology. In Kundalini yoga, in the tradition, we have 10 bodies. And so depending on your numerology, you know, there's a lot of different bodies need more attention for you. So in one of my clients, which is just a dear sister of mine, she was drinking somewhat heavily, but she had already a story of like drinking a lot and a lot of self-sabotaging patterns. What's going on, baby? You just want to say hi? Come here, say hi. Come here. No, you've been shy? Okay. And then I tell them, you know, you do this for 40 days. And afterwards, you figure out if you want to continue to do it or not. And after the 40 days, even by the 30th day, she quit. Like, she couldn't even think about drinking, you know, she couldn't think about having coffee either. She started to have herbal teas. There was no more like the self-sabotaging patterns at all. And that's only by Kundalini yoga, you know, that's all.
That was because you taught her the practice of Kundalini, and then she agreed to do it maybe once or twice a day.
Yeah, she did it once a day for 40 days, and then she journaled every single day after the practice to see how she was doing, because I recorded the practice and I sent it to her and said, do it for 40 days, you know? And yeah, after the first week, because we talked after the first week, she was like, wow, I feel so good. I was like, great, you know, keep it up until the 40. And she's still doing it, you know, she's still doing it. And then not only that, she just began to be more open up to like abundance, and she had like different like work related things that will come to her, you know. So it was great. It was really great, because again, the bodies that needed more balance in her life, she was paying attention to them, because everything talks in you. And if you don't pay attention, if you're too busy going on the go, then you miss what is happening in the communication. The other one had a long story of alcoholism. And it was still part of her life in a way, but not so active in the form of the physical of drinking. So in the processes of releasing that, we actually had to look at what happened in her childhood, in the lineage of her mom and her dad. How was her childhood affecting her in the current reality, in the present moment? And through that, you know, like through the channel process, then we went back into her childhood to see at the moments that were happening, and what happened with dad, what happened to mom, and how did that affect her? How did she feel? You know, how did the younger self feel like? And then embracing the younger self, bringing the younger self back into the present reality. Because when something is going on with you, for example, you have a problem with your dad, right? That your dad was maybe yelling at you a lot of times during your childhood. And then that is kind of put aside in your energetic body. then it's repeating, it's constantly repeating, because then it's still there. You're still in a way sabotaging yourself until you are able to go back, to travel back and take care of your inner child, that part of the inner child, to embrace it, to love it, to give it what the parents couldn't give it to them, and then bring it back, And so that is the integration process. So we did a few of those because, of course, it was something so deep in her that we had to work a lot with the water element, with the emotions, for the mom and the dad in her childhood, to release that. And I mean, she will be in tears like every single time through the process. It was very deep, but of course she just surrender. She will go for it. She said, like, I'm so scared, but I'm gonna do it. And she's a dear sister of mine. I mean, we have such an amazing connection, and she went from, like, for the very first moment, because we worked together for 3 months. I mean, we're like this. It's beautiful because then you see the person, and then, like, you see, I mean, I was seeing her strength and her confidence just like rising and rising and
That's
rising.
wonderful.
It's like, wow.
And especially if the alcohol. So she started to release some of the need to sort of, numb herself with the alcohol, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like, if you don't take care of that fully, right? Then you might stop alcohol, but then you might go into something else to be addictive to put that in a pause as well, but it's still like moving into your system.
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole concept of traumas, for whatever reason, we come into this world and these traumas happen at that childhood age that are the most influential. And then we did a course way back a couple of years ago called Cellular Freedom Technique, where we, the visualization of what you do is time travel. In the visualization, you're actually time traveling back to that moment and then working it out, like sort of unwinding whatever that wound is, and the work that you did with her, so that it reverberates into your present moment, that if you don't have it resolved, then it's always playing. And I believe all the relationships and things you're pulling to yourself you're trying desperately to resolve that knot, that wound. And so you're giving them an opportunity to go into that active space of resolution in your presence, and you're witnessing and you're holding space for them. And that's so powerful. I believe that's a lot of what our life is meant to do, is to clear these so that we can enjoy life and be present, and then really truly express those gifts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that's so lovely that you did that process so beautifully with her. And it sounds like in your work, you're sort of discovering new tools and trinkets along the way to help people.
I mean, all the time, honestly, because it's a practice, but I honestly believe that it's all our ability, because we're not different from one another. Like, I really believe that if one person can do it, we all have the ability to do it. It's just about, how do we keep our system clean, right? How do you keep your body clean? Because again, in Kundalini yoga, the physical body is the fifth body, through which all the bodies come through, and then you have this experience. So if this body is not healthy, if there's the energetic channels, like you were saying, the nadis, if they are clogged, then the energy is not really going to circulate as flowy as it wants to. So then, of course, and there's different parts of you that are not activated, are not online. But then once they become to be online, I mean, being a human, having this experience, knowing that you are also superhuman, is just divine, and it's game changing, honestly.
Absolutely. So, people often go from these self-sabotaging behaviors and very negative behaviors, and you're almost like a midwife of sorts to these folks, and they birth into a new part of their life. And I believe probably do you think they are discovering new gifts or new parts of themselves and moving into that in their lives?
Oh yeah, for sure. I had so many clients that said, like, the other day I was just talking to my boss, and all of a sudden just all these messages came through for them, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Because again, it's in us. It's in us.
It absolutely is in us. And, one, I think, wonderful thing about working with others as well is, like, you're teaching, but you're also receiving, you're probably also in the reflection of them receiving so much information And he continues to heal a part of ourselves, I think, as we do that work.
For sure. Oh my goodness. I've had so many of my clients that were mirrors of like my past too. And just like an understanding more of my journey because of what I was witnessing through them. Yes, it's definitely so beautiful. It's a two-way street. Yeah.
What other forms do you do? Specific sound healing? Do you work with gongs, or is it toning? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I do have a gong, but it's not with me presently. A sister is taking care of him. But I use such a shamanic drum, and I use the light language too that comes through. There's like different kinds of tones and vibrations that come through. That it's just an expression. I feel there's an expression of my soul that is expressing to send codes out there to help others awaken. And
what is light language? Sort of a spontaneous chanting or toning that you do? Is it something that is yours? What you call light language?
Well, so this is what I've heard others talk and say that was the name of it. Because when it first happened, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. But then I felt that it was me, that it was like the language of my soul.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And that it was coming through, and I started speaking to nature and animals like that too. And I realized that it was also helping others remember themselves. So then I was like, okay, well, this is not mine. This is ours. So it needs to be ours. Shared. Yeah. Yeah.
And can you give us some example of what that looks like?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Sorai sai to saiti, roi kai satai sai si, koerai sotai pai saiti, roi kai sotai pai si, sui kai mai tai sai tai si, rui kai sotai pai si, sai kai moi kai tai sai ti, sui kai to pai dai si.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. It's amazing. I feel like it's a combination of the beautiful channeled toning and the actual hand movements themselves. And I just experienced like just a complete stilling, like it was just so inner, just everything just calmed down.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When I'm alchemizing something within me that it feels really deep, it just comes through. Or whenever I'm being too human, my guides is like, hey, this is what we need to do right now. And I'm like, okay.
Is it something that you discovered spontaneously when you were doing a session and you just opened up and allowed your voice to come through?
It was when my throat chakra was reawakening. Because like through the Kundalini awakening, my vertebra have come back into alignment. So it was the moment that it was more aligned until a point that it opened up, it cracked, it opened up, and then it just came. And I was in this room, and then it was like non-existing, I wasn't here. It was just that coming through, and then I was vibrating so much, and afterwards I was like, whoa, what was that? And
incredible.
Then let it come through, because again, it's not mine. Yes. It's ours.
And it's beautiful that it's ours collectively, and it's that lovely experience of channeling where you step aside and you allow the divine energy. And I think it takes such a place of trust of allowing that. So I really celebrate that trust in you, that you allowed it to come through.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So where do you see your practice going? What would you like to see happen in the work that you're doing?
Oh my gosh, I've been having these visions for years, and it started in Cusco. I'm originally from Peru. I was born and raised in Lima, Peru. Part of my family is from the rainforest, part of the family is from the mountains and the coast. So I have a mix of all of that in my blood. And I was living in Cusco in 2019, and I had a vision about a holistic center, because I believe a lot in community. And
Mm-hmm.
community and just working together and rising together is very powerful,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel that as humans, we're not meant to be doing all these things alone. There's so many of us that are doing things very similarly, and coming together can actually raise like the vibrations even stronger and faster and wiser, perhaps too. So I've had a vision about this holistic center where is a place where people come to if they don't have the means to pay for somebody to help them through their awakening process. There was part in my journey that I didn't have money. Me and my boyfriend didn't have money, and we had to like figure out how to pay rent and how to get groceries and stuff, because we were both going from the very like deep parts of our awakening and trying to figure out to be a human too, but also be those channels. And so I imagine, of course, there's many people there, they will go and they're going through the same thing. And so for me, the vision was that like, this is a safe place for people to come, to have a home, to just go through their process, just let it go, like one of my teachers says, let it rip, and then understand it, have teachers that are guiding you, and also learn different modalities and techniques that can help you too. And at the same time, it will be like seva work, right? That they can either help you clean or with the garden, because of course it's an organic garden. And there's also people that can come in to have different kinds of concerts, like for religious, different kinds of like energy work and sound healing that can help the planet, because it's not that one session just helps the person that is receiving the session, but it's also helping the planet collectively. And also having just different modalities and sisters and brothers that can do all this together. And the one thing is also working with dogs, because dogs are such powerful healers, and help our children, and of course, adults to help the traumas.
Well, tell us a
My
little bit about, what do you think about dogs being healers? What's your take on that?
wow, I mean, my dearest puppy, besides this little guy that I have, he's 4 months and a half. She was my healer. She came into my life in 2013, right at the peak of my depression, when I was super suicidal. And she knew every moment that I will have a thought, she would come to me with a toy. She'd be like, "Mommy, let's play. Mommy, let's play." She will be by my side the whole time. And it's just like she knew, I would walk into the house, and she would come running, and she would do something because she knew I had a kind of crappy day. And she helped me so much, and in ways that it's kind of even crazy to put into words or to think about. And they have such a deep unconditional love,
Absolutely.
that
And
is
it's such an intelligence to know. I think about, they're interpreting, like they're not interpreting through words, they're interpreting through scent, through sight, through their own
Mhm,
intuition that, oh, she needs a toy now.
mhm.
You the seva, right? Being your selfless seva person, and making sure that you have everything you need at that moment. And that
Yeah,
means they're reading your emotional state as well. And that's quite
yeah.
extraordinary.
Oh my gosh, so powerful. So like she brought me back to the present moment, she took me out of my head and all these things, and just be there with her. And we had telepathy too, I would like I love to run. So I will wake up, meditate, and then I'll be like sending in my head, "Hey puppy, you wanna go running?" And she will open her eyes and like come running to me, and we'll go out of the door, without
That's
waking
so
anybody
great.
else up. So yeah,
That's so
they're
beautiful.
powerful.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you'll have a lot of dogs at this healing center as well.
Yeah, and of course, for sure. And this is something that like again, I don't see it as mine, I see it as
Mhm.
ours. Like
Yes.
because it's not to say that it's for just one person, or no, I mean, to me that doesn't resonate. To me, like what we all do is because we're doing it as a whole for all of us. And the more that we continue to like elevate, we realize that it's not just one person doing it, it's all of us doing it. And just that resonance coming back into ourselves, remembering our story and who we are. Oh my gosh, like that is what brings me so much joy too in this work.
That's amazing. What we of course lived through with the pandemic, and just in general, where the trajectory of technology has been taking people to a place of more isolation and separation. Even though we can be so wonderfully connected here, in person is a bit different. And it's interesting, there is this sort of the collective longing, I think, within the healing community for people to say, let's go someplace where we can connect in person, and just recognizing what an important part of human existence and the joy of human experience that is.
The touch, the hug. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's almost like those real hugs, just like everything stops, and it's like, yes, presence. Yeah.
Yes, it's presence. Yes, you must be present in that moment of receiving and giving to someone. And will it be in the United States, you think, or do you have a place in mind yet where this center might be?
I feel that it's in South America somewhere.
South America, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that land, I was super disconnected from it. When I moved to the States when I was 15, and I didn't speak any English.
Wow.
So I totally disconnected from my own roots. And through this journey, coming back to that land and coming back to understanding and being in touch with it has awakened so many things in me. And I'm not sure if you have been to South America, but the energy in the land and the story, like, again, our story of our ancestors is so powerful. And to be able to bring that up in a way with other brothers and sisters for so many of us, and of course there's already people doing this, right? There's so many of us doing that, but
that doesn't matter though. It's each person answering their own call, and that is exactly what's needed, whether it's 100 or 100,000. Each one is absolutely needed, for its unique expression of what it is. I think that's so special. All the land in different places has different vibration and different vortices, and there must be something in the land that's really calling you that would be also healing to other people. We're also, so connected with the land, and the land can be a big part of our healing and our evolutionary experience.
Yes. And even here, right now I'm in Lawrence, Kansas. And I feel the connection, like when the land over there calls me, in South America from here. It's just like the way that the trees communicate, and the way that the wind comes through and gives you a message. It's just like, yeah, we're meant to like be there too, not just here. And I'm like, okay, guide me, guide me.
It's so beautiful just to be asked to be guided and led, because then the journey is going to be so magnificent and so special.
Yeah,
sure. That's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about how you're growing your current practice and how people are finding you.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I'm my own guinea pig, right? I learn a lot from my own system, which I believe that the more you're in tune with what happens inside of you, the more that you're able to live like a healthier life, right? Because there's so much that speaks within yourself. So I'm constantly listening, even at times when it's scary to listen. And even at times that I don't want to listen, I'm constantly listening and surrendering to what my own system is telling me. And from that space, again, it's much easier to guide others through that, to help them understand their own language of their being, of their body, of their organs. And so, yeah, the easiest way to connect will be through social media for sure. I'm active, yes, on Instagram and Facebook, and email. That's how definitely a lot of people connect with me too, through my YouTube channel.
Absolutely. We're going to post your information, your Instagram and I love I was bringing up your link tree because we're going to share that in a moment. And I was thinking, link tree, this is like why it's the tree of all of your links, which is why it's so wonderful. It has all of your services and things and ways that people can get in touch with you. It's so brilliant. I absolutely love that. And so when you're talking, you talked a lot about the land and the people and your own journey in Kundalini. Is there a dietary or physical, do you use superfoods or juicing, anything like that?
So I definitely eat a lot of veggies, and I eat like a lot of juice. It really depends, honestly, in the season, because I eat a lot, like intuitively a lot. Whatever like my body like feels like it really needs to feel replenished, then I go for it. So this moment it's getting hot, so most of the time it's more fruits and salads and more raw veggies and juice.
Of course,
yeah. When it's cold, like the winter here in Kansas, it's very cold, so then it's more like soups and the rice and maybe curries and things like that. But yeah, I love, like, I take a lot of mushrooms too, reishi mushrooms, and
of course,
extract of that. Yeah. A little bit of maca, not a
yes.
lot. I eat a lot of maca,
Is
plantain.
that something that you remembered or recalled from Peru that you would use
Yeah.
natively?
Yeah.
And how was
Yeah.
it used? Was it used as an herb? Was it integrated into food? How was it utilized?
Juice and
Juicing.
juice smoothies, and with yogurt too. People like spray it too, which is really interesting. It's something that is so local, that I mean, and it's so cheap too over there. So then once they like got like super big, then it's crazy. My dad makes fun of that because it's like we pay nothing for that over there.
That's
And
pretty
that's like,
hilarious.
yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
funny though. Are there
Yeah.
other herbs that are not very well known or which were native to Peru that you don't see here in the States that come to mind?
Huh. Well, honestly, no, because even like the camu camu, which is
Ah,
a wild, it's
right.
yeah, like a wild fruit, it's already being known right now. I mean, for a couple of years
Yeah.
now, because we
But
had,
still, that is a wonderful, a very
yeah,
special way to get vitamin C, and I'm sure it has other benefits besides vitamin C as well.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, we started seeing like so many in the past like 10 years, and even yuca, which is called cassava too.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking because my mom is visiting. I was talking to my mom, and she's like, at work they have yucca. This was like non-heard like 2, 3 years ago." And I
Right.
was like, yeah, now it's like it's being known throughout the world. Yeah.
Well, if you decide to stay in Kansas and have your center there, then you'll still have lots of different healing herbs that you can
Yeah.
utilize.
Oh
But
my gosh, yes. Yes.
well, yeah, absolutely. Well, wherever you go, like that's where the party's going to be. The
Yeah.
place almost doesn't matter because it's the vibrational energy that you're bringing to it that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. So like also part of my diet is a lot of like teas and infusions. I'm
Mhm.
taking this like herbalism apprenticeship course. I've been doing it since January, and it's about using plants and herbs as like healing tools, because they also speak and they have their own language and a remembrance too. It's like an activation. It's so beautiful. And remembering the language of the plants and the herbs. So yeah, I
That's
do.
absolutely true. I mean, that's in a whole channeling in and of itself. I mean, you could probably touch the plant and do a whole channeling because we're not even remotely aware of all the
Oh
complexities
my
that Earth
gosh,
is constantly offering to us. And when you partake of the plant, you're getting a whole energetic coded download that we're not even aware of. You
yes.
think?
And like I remember many things of my childhood through them that I didn't remember,
Mm.
and it's just, and just by making a tea, and it really,
Hmm.
because my teacher says that we have forgotten how to respect the plants.
Hmm.
And so, people drink tea and they're just drinking. But like
Hmm.
first, like you have to smell it and then you have to invite it in and saying, I welcome, I welcome your healing potentials. I welcome your remembrance. Who are you? What are you here to tell me? And then once you do that, you're just having that connection, and the barrier between, this is just a tea and the human just disappears. And then you're one with it. It's just like, it's marvelous, whenever we go back into what our ancestors used to do. And again, so many activations happen, so much remembrance. It's so beautiful.
I mean, you get a lot more healing power from that herb. And the first step in that is actually respect, that you take the moment to respect it. And then it sort of opens up and it becomes so much more for you. And it's able to sort of bestow to you all of that healing power in that moment.
Yes, absolutely. Respect is a big thing.
You've got so many things to teach people in your center. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and whenever happens, right? Like I'm just allowing the universe to guide me through the steps and the process, and yeah, once we get there, we get there.
I absolutely love it. Rukmani, as we get ready to sort of, close everything down and sort of sum everything up, can you think of things that you'd like to offer up to somebody who might be suffering or in that dark place at this time?
Oh my goodness. Open up, like open up and speak to someone. Because at times, like when those things happen, there's a condition that we just want to stay hidden in our little shell. And many things can come in the mind and lead you in different directions away from centeredness. But the thing is, in that space, we don't remember that people actually care, that people actually love you. And without you, the world will be different, like literally the painting, the masterpiece of life itself will be different because a little piece of it wouldn't be there, which is you. And so open up, like say what you need to say to somebody that you trust, that you feel that person can actually listen to you and hold space for you, and then see what happens. It just takes that one step. And from there, if it's well received, which I fully trust, that whenever you go to a person that you really trust, and it will be a game changer. And then, you will not be in that hiding space anymore. You like little by little will come out and have more your own courage and just see the wonderful and powerful being that you are.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing and so, so true. I'm just receiving all of that and letting it all just be in the moment. Well, we connected through Instagram and I didn't really know much about the work, but you were just, first of all, the first thing you said was, yes, I would be honored, like your spirit of like, I'll say, yes, I will be a part of this. So I want to thank you for that because it was absolutely just such a delight to discover all these treasures that you are and that your work is for others. I'm so honored.
Thank you so much. And likewise, I was like, yes, of course. Thank you for opening up the space and for inviting me here and taking your time and for everything that you're doing, that it really helps all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Rukmani, big, big blessings, big, big love to you. And just thinking of all your wonderful adventures ahead and sending you much, much blessings and much light. I can't wait to hear an update about how you're doing and stay in touch.
Yes, thank you so much. Likewise, likewise.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who's been watching today and who's been a part of our podcast, the Energy and Frequency podcast. We'll be back